Hey everyone, if you live in Washington or invest here, this one video you can't skip because a brand new housing law, House Bill 1491, just passed in 2025, and it's going to completely reshape what can be built near light rail, bus rapid transit, and commuter lines across the state. It's called House Bill 1491, and it might be the most important housing legislation Washington has passed in a decade. So today, I'm going to break it all down in plain language. What the law actually does, who it impacts, and how it could affect home values, and what this means for buyers, sellers, and real estate investors over the next 5 to 10 years. So let's get into it. First, why does this even matter? Washington, especially the Puget Sound region, is dealing with a deep housing shortage. We've got population growth, more transit, and a lot of people priced out of the market. But we still have huge areas zoned for single-family homes only, even right next to transit. So House Bill 1491 says, let's change that. Let's allow more housing, walkable, affordable, and close to where people actually commute. Here's the core of the law. Cities that are planning under Washington's Growth Management Act, which includes most urban and high growth areas, must rezone land near major transit stops. That land is now known as station area. With these zones, cities must allow multifamily housing, mixed-use buildings, and a minimum amount of density measured by floor area ratio, or FAR. Now here's the key detail. For larger cities, those with over 15,000 people, the station area includes everything within a half a mile of transit stop. But for smaller cities, those with under 15,000 people, they only have to allow that kind of density within a quarter mile of transit. So the scale of change really depends on the size of the city. It's a more flexible approach, but the bottom line is the same. If you've got major transit in your city, you have to make space for more housing near it. The law also eliminates off-street parking minimums in these station areas, with a few exceptions. Developers don't have to include parking just to meet a zoning code. And that's huge, because parking adds a lot of cost to construction and limits what can be built on small urban lots. Instead, developers get more flexibility, especially in places where car-free living is realistic. House Bill 1491 also requires developers to include a percentage of affordable housing in new residential projects inside station areas. That means apartments or condos priced for people earning around 80% of the area median income depending on the location. This shifts affordability from being optional or incentive-based to being baked into the zoning itself. So who actually has to do this and when? Cities like Seattle, Bellevue, Redmond, Tacoma, and Kirkland, they all have major transit infrastructure and more than 15,000 residents. So they'll need to rezone everything within a half a mile of qualifying transit stops. And they have a deadline, December 31st, 2029, to adopt the new rules. Smaller cities under 15,000 people have a reduced station area requirement. They only need to apply the new zoning rules within a quarter mile of each transit hub. So if you're in a city like Clyde Hill or Medina, which don't have high capacity transit and have smaller populations, you may not be required to rezone at all under this new law. But for most transit-connected cities across the Puget Sound, this is the new blueprint. And even if your station isn't open yet, the law still requires cities to plan and rezone ahead of time. Let's talk real estate because this is where the opportunity shows up. For homeowners in a station area, your land might now be eligible for higher density, which means more value, more flexibility, and more possible interest from developers. For investors or builders, this opens the door to townhome projects, small apartment buildings, and mixed use on corner lots, and a lower development cost with no parking mandates. Plus, the multifamily tax exemption can sweeten the deal in many cities. For buyers and renters, the goal is more housing choices and more supply, which helps bring prices down over time, especially near transit. This isn't just about density. It's about options, access, and equity. Of course, there will be some resistance. Cities may be slow to adopt changes. Neighbors may push back on density or parking. And some areas may look for creative ways to avoid compliance. But the state has been clear. This law is mandatory, and cities that don't comply may lose state funding or legal protections. So here's what to do now. Watch for which cities are acting early, where zoning maps are changing, where builders are already submitting new plans. These are the growth corridors of the next decade. I've got a state planning map that shows exactly which areas are affected. Who's in half a mile zone, who's in a quarter mile zone, and where zoning changes are likely to hit next. If you want a copy or want help understanding how your property fits into all of this, just reach out. I'd be happy to send it your way. House Bill 1491 isn't just about housing policy. It's about the future of our communities and whether people can live affordably and sustainably near where they work and travel. The changes are already in motion. And if you're watching this, you're ahead of the curve. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, drop your zip code into the comments. I'll walk you through how House Bill 1491 affects your neighborhood in a future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.